Exchanging Christmas cards is a time-honored tradition, but cards, like everything else, are getting more expensive. But don't you worry, I've got a solution. Hi, my name is Leslie, and welcome to Happy Tuesday, where we do crafts and DIY and home decor and more. I know what you're thinking. Making your own cards can be time-consuming and difficult, but I have got you covered today. We are going to make fun, easy, and quick Christmas cards that you can share with all your friends and family. Now, don't forget to stick around until the very end, and I'll have a hint on one of next week's projects. So grab your favorite beverage and let's make some cards. We are going to bypass the sneak peek today and jump right into card number 1. Now, I bought these blanks at Dollar General, but they don't carry them anymore, and I got them on clearance when a store was going out of business. But if you go to Hobby Lobby in their Paper Studio paper crafting section, you can buy a pair of cards and envelopes, 50, well, it's a 100 pack, but 50 cards for $8.99, and then if you do, when the Paper Studio is running 40% off, they are 10 cents for a card, which is super cheap. Now I'm just going to take some paper, this is cardstock, and I'm just grabbing, as you can see, just some little scraps, and I cut myself out a little mitten here, and we are going to just decorate our little mittens. So I decided to put a little band on them. Now, I freehanded this. If you can't freehand, no worries. I'm sure you can find a picture online. And I'm going to go ahead and just use my teeny little detail glue bottle there that I filled up with some craft glue. Actually, I think it is Clear Elmer's, and we're going to glue those little bands on. Then with an extra fine Sharpie marker, I'm just going to make a little bit of extra detail on the wrist part. And then these are just cheap little stickers from the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to take the sticky part off and then just use my own glue to glue these on. But you can decorate your mittens any kind of way you want, whether you use little beads or, come in with maybe some markers or whatever. And they don't even have to be mittens. I was just trying to show you an idea of how you could just use your scrap cardstock and make a little design. It could be a star, it could be a tree, whatever you want to do on your little card front with your scrap cardstock. And then this is just a piece of yarn that I have left over from a project I did in the neutral DIY Christmas. If you hadn't seen that video, I will have it linked below, so be sure and check it out. But I had this left over, and I thought it was just perfect, nice and fuzzy, added to the coziness of my little mittens here. And I'm just going to use some hot glue. And then I grabbed these metallic markers that I bought on clearance at Michael's, and we're just going to write on the front of this, Merry Christmas. Now, the inside of these cards can be anything you want. It can just be a little handwritten note, or you can Google or get an AI to create you some fun Christmas sayings to go on the inside. But I love this. Now, card number 2, this one is even simpler. So I just went into my sticker collection and found a Merry Christmas sticker. And then I found, and you can see how old these are, that was the original Dollar Tree when stuff was still just $1. And I just grabbed 3 little snowmen. Now, because they're kind of puffy, they didn't want to stick really well. And like I told you, these are old. I've probably had these hanging around in my craft supplies for more than 10 years. Anyway, we're going to grab a couple more little stickers on there, and that's all there is to this card. This one is so easy, anyone can do it. So it's super easy, super fun, super cute, and super affordable. Check it out. Is this not the most adorable little card? And the most time-consuming part of it was picking out the stickers. give it a try. I just wanted to pop in here real quick and say thank you. I appreciate that we get to spend time together today. If you're a regular subscriber, thank you for coming back. And if you are new or newish here, I hope you'll consider hitting that subscribe button and clicking the bell below so that you'll be notified every time I upload a new video. Give today's video a big old thumbs up, share it with your friends, give it a hype, and let's get back to crafting. All right, that brings us to card number 3. I love this one. So you guys, if you remember, I told you that I wanted to try my hand at some watercolors. So here we go. I bought these watercolors. I want to say it was at, oh, I don't remember, either Michael's or Hobby Lobby. It was just the cheapest set of watercolors they had. And I'm going to take this lid. I've been watching this young lady, and I can't think of her name off the top of my head, but it's Rebel Unicorn, I think is her channel. And she always says to spritz your watercolors before you get started. But I just took a lid and added a little bit of watercolor around the edge of it and then tap that down, and that's my outline for my little ornament I'm going to make here. And then I just picked a color and went in, and I didn't get too fussy with it. I think that's a cool thing about watercolors. Number one, there's all kinds of ways that you can quote unquote erase paint. But you know, it just looks so whimsical and fun when things just aren't stuck into a little tiny box. So I'm super excited about this. And you know, whether your ornament is darker or lighter, you know, you don't have to worry and get fussy about shading. You know, just have some fun with it. So once we got that circle kind of colored in, then I grabbed a little gold color, and we're going to make the ornament topper here with a little bit of gold and fill that in. Now, some things that I've learned about watercolors is, you know, you add more water, you get a more saturated color. You add less water, you get a darker color. You know, it kind of just lends itself to fun, really. I've been having a lot of fun making this video. I did multiple watercolor cards, designs on cards, and you'll get to see how super fun and easy this is. So once we've gotten that done, then I thought I would come in with a little gold band, but you couldn't really see it on the red. So we're going to wash out our brush and go back in with a little bit darker red and just make some little decoration on our ornament and have some fun with it. And once we got a little bit of decoration on there, then I am going to just take my paintbrush. Now I'm using a rounded brush. Honestly, I don't remember the size of it. I want to say it was an 8 or a 10 maybe. And I bought the brushes at either Hobby Lobby or Michael's as well. You know, I always look for when stuff is on sale, and that's when I buy it. Now, once I got that decoration done, then I decided I wanted to come in with a couple of little greenery pieces. And so, again, we're not going to get real fussy with this. We're just going to, you know, draw a line and draw some lines out from it. And I picked a lighter green color to start. And then I'm going to go back in with a little bit darker green color. But, I mean, you know, when you're looking at it just like this, it doesn't look like much. You know, but when you go back in with a little bit darker color, as I'm getting ready to do in a second, and I will bring you in a little bit closer so you can see it, you know, it kind of fills in the spaces, and gives it a little bit more depth. And oops, I had a little bit too much water. No worries, just grab my little paper towel and sop that up, and we're going to go back right into painting this little greenery piece. So here we're going to add in those darker pieces, and look, it gets filled in, and now it's looking all festive and stuff. And you know, honestly, I would not say that I can draw, and I would definitely not say that I can paint, but I think this greenery piece turned out so cute. So I'm just going to tell you, the hardest part, she has a little short that I've watched a couple of times, and she says the hardest part, honestly, is just getting started. So just grab yourself some watercolors and a brush. And this is just regular old paper. It's not even watercolor paper. Now you have to be careful how much water you add to not watercolor paper because it will warp. But I flattened this right back out underneath a stack of other things. And look at that greenery piece. I'm thinking that's looking pretty good. So we're going to add a couple little berries in here. And then I'm going to come in and I am just going to write into it joy. For a couple of reasons. Joy is a great word for the season, but also making this card in the watercolors brought me great joy. I was just really excited about how it turned out and how easy and fun and easy it was. I didn't have to be anything real fussy, just paint. Just paint. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to try it. Don't be afraid to try something new. That's my words for today. Don't be afraid to try something new. And I think we're the most critical about ourselves and our own skill levels and our own finished projects than we are on somebody else's. So if you need a cheerleader, send me pictures of your projects. I always say this at the end, but send me pictures of your projects. I love to see your work. You guys bring me so much inspiration, and that also brings me joy. And so here's our card all complete. Sorry for my little soapbox there, but you guys know I just love you, and I love creating, and I love bringing you inspiration, and that will now bring us to project or card number 4, and we are going to try out some watercolor pencils. I've had these in my stash for a while too, and I will have, I think I bought these on Amazon. I'll have them. Oh no, they're Artist Loft. They must have come from Michael's or Hobby Lobby. I don't remember which one carries the Artist Loft. But anyway, we're going to go ahead and just take our little tape roll there and draw out our circles, and then we're not going to get fussy with coloring them in. We're just going to give it a good cursory, and then we're going to grab our paintbrush and add a little bit of water to it, and that gives it the watercolor effect. And it's so cool how even though you didn't completely color in the circle with that colored pencil, that watercolored pencil, how the water just added to it, fills it out, and gives it that nice watercolor look. I love the way it looks. All right, now we're going to grab our heat tool, and as she says, we're going to either let it dry or make it dry. In this case, I'm making it dry, and then I grabbed an extra fine Sharpie marker, and we are going to detail these out as little ornaments. So I just drew a couple of rough circles around each circle, and then made a little bow on there and a little hanger with some little star pieces. And we're going to write Mary inside our 5 circles. And then I'm going to take a marker. I started out with my brush marker, and then I went back in with my thicker Sharpie marker and wrote the word Christmas. Here we are. We're just going to go over it again. And, if you don't want to use your own handwriting, of course, there's all kinds of options. You can use stickers or your cutting tool, or I'll show you another way in another card in a second. But here it is, all complete. And that brings us to card number 5. Okay, so I actually did the one in front first, but I forgot to hit play. So I'm going to do a second one. And this is just a super, super cheap Dollar Tree watercolor paint. Now, when I was in Dollar Tree yesterday, they actually have what looks like a little bit better set of watercolors in their crafting section. It had more than the 8 colors or whatever this has. And it looked like it was a little bit better quality, but still for $1.25, so you can't beat that. And we're going to spray a little bit of water on there, and then we're going to pick a color, and we're just going to come in with our brush, and we're going to make some marks on here, and we are going to make a tree. Now, the easiest way to make a tree without drawing it on there and trying to stay inside the lines is to use some tape, and I'm just using washi tape. I made it in the shape of a tree. And then I'm going to start blending up a little bit darker shade of this green. We're going to come in with that, and you can see I've just got my little paint well there. Bought that at Dollar Tree too. Those come in, like 6 or 8 in a bunch in their low crafting section. And we're just going to take some water and mix up some paints there. And then once we've gotten this tree done, we're just going to take our washi tape off our tree, and we're going to come in, and I'm going to mix up a little bit of brown because this little palette I have here doesn't have any brown. But before I do, I'm going to take a Q-tip and just dot some red dots on there. Those will be my little ornaments. Now I'm mixing up some brown with a couple of little different colors, and we're going to paint on a trunk. And I'm just going to do 3 little trees on this card in that same way with the washi tape, just making different tree designs, if you will. And just, let your creativity flow. I think this is also a really fun project for kids to do. So whether it's your kids or your grandkids, just give them a little bit of paint and a paintbrush and a card and let their imaginations go wild. So check out that little tree. It's just, just some rough paint. We're going to come in with a little bow on that, and I just took some paint off of our other trunk and added it on there, and then a little bit of craft glue, and we're going to glue our little bow on there. And then we're going to come in and make one more tree. I won't make you sit through that. And then that will be all there is to making this card. So again, just let your imagination go wild. All right, and once I got that tree all completed, then I just came in with a pencil and wrote peace under here. And I tried going in with the paint and just painting over the letters, but I really didn't like the way it looked, and so I am just gonna wash it out, and I'll show you here in just a second. So again, I didn't like the way it was turning out, so I just added some water to my brush and made it kind of like a little faded out sign, and then came in with a Sharpie and wrote, or any marker really, and wrote over my piece with a marker, and then just added a little bit of dimension to it. And I love the way these turned out. And again, I mean, it's a cheap card with some cheap watercolors, but look how cute those turned out. And that will bring us to card number 6. This is another super easy one. So we're going to come back in with some washi tape, and I am going to make a tree form. Now, again, you guys don't have to make tree forms. You can make stars or snowmen or whatever you want on your cards. And then I just grab my little markers, and I am just scribbling out some green on there and giving it a little bit of dimension. And then we're going to come in with a red and put some little balls on that. And then we're going to come in with a yellow and add some more little ornaments or lights, whatever you want them to be. And then we're going to take our washi tape off, and look how cute that tree is. All right, now this is another option if you can't draw or write or, do any of those things, but you can print on a printer. So I took this Merry Christmas that I printed on my computer, and I just took some number 2 pencil ink, or number 2 pencil lead, and scribbled on the back, and then I'm going to trace over it on the front, and I just added some washi tape to keep it into place. And then once I've traced over every single letter, and you can do this with words, you can do this with pictures, then I'm going to take that off, and look at that. You can see it just transferred right on there, just like the old ditto paper. Who remembers ditto paper? Give me a hands up in the comments below if you remember ditto paper. But we're going to come in, I'm going to come in, and I am just going to draw over those letters with my markers, the Merry Christmas, and look how cute this turns out. And super easy and simple, doesn't require hardly any skill at all. And then I just erased whatever leftover pencil marks there are. I mean, literally, I just scribbled this tree onto this card. You can do this. And that brings us to project number 7, or card number 7, another super easy one. So I grabbed some red and green chalk paint and a little circle here. I'm going to draw around the circle on the card, and then we are going to take some Q-tips, and I'm just going to dab the Q-tip in the green and dauber it all the way around that circle, and we are making a wreath. Look at this. How fun and simple. Guys, this took no time at all, and I think it looks so high-end, you know, boutique-y looking. And then we're going to come in with our red and another Q-tip and just dauber some little pieces on there. And then I grabbed a little bit of white ribbon and glued that on there, and that is all there is to this card. Look at that. Isn't that stinking cute? I love this card, and I would be proud to give it away. All right, that brings us to card number 8. This is another easy one, guys, but so fun. Now, instead of drawing a tree right onto this, or a triangle right onto this card, I printed one out, and I did it in blue so you could see the triangle. And then I'm going to use this ruler as an edge to make sure that my lines are staying even, and I am just poking holes on either side of that triangle. And we're going to come in with some embroidery floss here in just a second. But I went all the way up the tree, and I probably gave about 1/4 of an inch maybe in between each little piece, maybe not even that much. You can see how close those are together. And then I just got a needle and some embroidery floss, and we're going to use the whole 6 strands to give it some dimension. So I'm going to thread that embroidery floss on. Now, I ran quite a bit of this through the tree and didn't cut it off on the end, so that in case I didn't have enough, I could run it up a little bit more. And we're just going to poke a hole coming from the front and the back. And then I'm just using these little pearl pieces. These are little pearl beads. They come from Dollar Tree, and they are, it came in a pack of 3 different sizes. So I just picked the middle size because that's what fit on my needle. And every 2 or 3 rows, I'm just going to add a few more, and I just did 3 on mine. And then we're going to go all the way up the tree. Now, when I'm doing this, in order to keep the stitching on the back side to a minimum, I come in from one side. So let's say I'm on the right, come in from the right, go to the left, and then come back in from the left. So I'm just going up 1 and back over to the right, and so on and so forth. So you can see, and I'll show you the back side in a minute, that we are not getting you know, much stitching on the back side, so there isn't much waste of the embroidery floss on the back. Now, of course, it's not going to be nice looking finished like that. And then once we get to the top, I'm just going to tie this off in a little knot there, and then I'm going to go back in on the bottom and cut that off from our little embroidery floss piece there. And then I'm just going to make 2 knots to hold our string down. Now, no worries if your knots aren't close to that card stock, and that's another thing you could do. You guys wouldn't even have to buy cards. You can actually make cards and envelopes with just plain old cardstock. So another idea, guys. So I'm going to take this little jewel. I bought those from the Dollar Tree too, and I picked a star and just put it on the top. All right, now the inside of this card, we're just going to take some cardstock and I'm going to cut it slightly smaller than the outside of the card, and I'm going to glue that onto the inside of our card. So you can see I'm kind of measuring it and trying to figure out how much smaller I need to make it than our actual card. And it'll give a nice little white boundary around the edge. So once I've gotten that done, I hope you can see there's very little of the stitching on the inside. And then I'm just using, this is just wood glue by Super Glue because I like how it lays in there. And it didn't create too much bulk. You can use any kind of craft glue, or you could use a double-sided tape. That'll work too. And just set that on the inside, and look at that. Isn't that card so stinking cute? And I love the dimension on it. I love how, you know, all the pieces just kind of stand up, and it says, "Take notice of me." Now I could have done my pieces just a little bit more taut, but I love the way it turned out. All right, card number 9. This is like a little pop-up card. So I'm going to take my original card, and I am going to take some cardstock and cut out a card out of the cardstock in the original size. And then I'm going to take my white card and I am going to trim that down so that it fits inside of this green card. That way, the backside pieces of our pop-up won't show. And then once I've gotten this trimmed down, then I'm going to come back in with a straight edge and a pencil, and we are going to make a little tree form on here. So I just drew down my line for the side of the tree and then the bottom of the tree, and then I'm going to mark off 5 different sections on the tree. So once you've gotten those 5 sections done, then I came in and just did kind of a little loop-de-loop there along the edge of those sections, and we are going to cut those out. So on each of them, starting from the center of the card, you're going to cut toward the outside of the card, just the loop-de-loop part. And we're going to do that for all 5 of those sections. Now, once you've gotten all 5 of those sections cut out, then we are going to come in and bend each one of those towards the center, and then bend them in because we want those to pop out. So I'm just kind of, you know, bending them in every direction so that when this card is inside of that green card, that it pops out. And you want that bottom piece to kind of lay flat against the card. So you can see I just want to lay that in there, make sure that it folds over, crease it real well, and then we're going to pull that out. And now we're going to grab our watercolors again. You can use paint, you can use markers, you can use whatever you want, but I thought the watercolors were going to give it a nice little dimension, and they were also very simple and easy and fill in really easily. But I mean, for goodness sakes, you could just use crayon if you wanted. Anyway, we're going to come in, and I just layered the green colors, made it a little bit darker each branch as I went down, and colored the whole thing. And then I'm going to come in with another color, and I'm going to color those little edges so that it kind of looks like garland along the edges of where those little loop-de-loops are on the bottom of our tree. Once I've gotten that part done, then I want to come in with some brown and put on a little trunk. And then I'm just going to make some little rectangular shapes with some different colors of watercolor. And then these are going to be presents. And then we'll just come in with our ultra fine Sharpie marker, and we're going to draw around the outside of our presents and make little bows on the top. And then I'm just picking different colors and adding lights and ornaments onto our tree, just kind of whimsically going around. And once I got that done, I thought, you know what would be really cool? Let's splatter some paint on here. I think that would be super fun. And then I just took my little markers and wrote out Merry Christmas on the side of this, and then we are going to glue this right inside. Actually, I'm going to use some double-sided tape on this, and we are going to tape this right inside of that green card. I just added enough tape that it was going to stay put, and started on one side and brought it to the middle, and then did the other side, so that it comes together nicely. And then I just had this little Christmas blessings stamp that I thought would look really cute on the front side. And look at this, super easy, super fun, super simple. And who doesn't love a good pop-up card? Let me know in the comments below what you think of this one. All right, now that brings us to card number 10. Guys, this is another super simple one. So I just took those little jewels and I took my straight edge and one of the cards, and I am just making some black lines in various lengths on this card, and I'm going to make, I want to say 6 of them. And just, in regular intervals, I guess, in various lengths. And once I've gotten those done, then I'm going to take those little jewel pieces and I am going to pick out the ones that I want. So I picked out some that matched and were coordinating colors, and then I just glued them on with a little bit of hot glue. And it couldn't get any simpler than that. Then I'm going to take my fine, extra fine Sharpie marker, and I'm going to go back in like I did with those presents, and we are going to draw some little bows onto the top of our ornaments hanging here with our Sharpie marker, and just make it kind of a little whimsical and fun with little tails on either side of these little ornaments. Look at those. Aren't those so cute? And once we get done with that, I have this little stamper piece, and it just says Merry Christmas, and we're going to stamp that on there, and that is all there is to this project. Tell me you could do this. All right, card number 11, another fun option here. So we're just going to take some more of that washi tape, and I am going to tape around the edges of this card. I'm taping the card down to the table too, but most of that washi tape is covering up the edge of our card. So it's going to frame it out kind of like a picture frame. And once I get done with that, I'm going to grab some more watercolors, and we're just going to slap some little watercolor after we spritz them. We're going to slap some little watercolors on here in just a diagonal pattern, and I'm just picking out, you can see, any old colors. I just tried to figure out what was going to coordinate and look cute together. And I've got some little blues and some pink and some purplish colors, and then we're going to go in with a little bit darker purple, and you can make this as bright or as light. You can pick any colors you want. And then I am going to end it with a little bit more blue color. Now, if you want, you don't have to leave these as little kind of stripes. You could come back in and use your water and blend those all together, whatever you want it to look like. And then I'm taking my tape roll there, and I made a little circle. This is going to be another little ornament, and I made a little ornament top on there, and we're going to hand draw that with a little bit of decoration in that with some pencil. All right, now I want you to grab your hot glue gun, and we are going to take our glue gun and outline the whole thing that we just drew on there so that it gives it that raised edge. And then once this dries and you've picked out any little flying edges you might have, I'm taking this little gold stuff that I bought at the Dollar Tree, and I am going to spread that all over. Now you can either use this gold foil stuff, or you could use your rub and buff, whatever you have available to you. And we're just going to rub that all over the edge. Now, if you don't have any of that, then you could just come back in with a little bit of paint and go over the edge of your glue with paint. And then once we've got that all on there, then I just grabbed another little brush and flaked out all the extra pieces. And then I'm going to come back in with my little stamper after I take off my washi tape. This is something so satisfying about removing this washi tape off of here. And look at those crisp, clean edges along that border. I love the way this turned out, and you could draw anything on here and make it pop off the page. And that brings us to our last card, card number 12. This is just to show you that even the card that doesn't turn out exactly like you wanted it still looks adorable, and I am still excited to give this one away. So I'm going to come in with some more washi tape and make a nice little border around the edges here, just like I did in the last card. And then I'm going to grab some paint, and I was trying to make kind of a blended color, and I wanted to put salt on it to give it some texture because I saw that done, but I either didn't have my paint wet enough or I didn't have enough water on there. I'm not really sure, but it didn't work out. And I'm not going to force you to watch all of my little flubs, but I am going to just kind of blend this all together and add a little bit of water to it. And, I kind of wanted a little blue sky with a little green, and you could see where I'm just wiping off all the water and the salt that I put on there, and kind of giving it a nice little whitewash or blue wash effect, I guess, blue-green wash effect. And I thought I'd come in here with some different ideas, and then I'm just going to tape off a little tree, and then I'm going to come in with some paint in kind of a zigzag form, and I am just going to paint a little tree on here, and then just keep adding lines until I like the way it looks. All right, after I like the way it looked, then I'm going to come in with some more colors and add some little lights on here. So this one kind of looks really similar to the tree that I made with the markers. And once I have all the lights that I like on it, then I'm going to have that nice satisfying piece of taking off that tape. I'm going to add a little trunk on the bottom, and then I'm going to come back in with my Merry Christmas stamp. Now I got a little bit of water in my Merry Christmas stamp. So rather than, try to cover it up, I thought, well, I'll just go with it, and we'll just flare that out and give it a little Christmas pop behind the Merry Christmas. And then I outlined it with my Sharpie marker to give it a little bit more detail, and that's all there is to this card. Let me know in the comments below which card or cards were your favorite and which ones you would like to try to recreate. And as always, send me pictures if you do create anything. I love to see your creations. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I had so much fun making cards with you. Now, since you stuck around till the very end, here's your hint on one of next week's projects. You're going to need a little stuffed figure or stuffed animal that you can buy at the Dollar Tree, and a recyclable jar with a lid. But until then, make it a great day, and Happy Tuesday!